Before we get started with this week's show, I wanted to say how stoked I am to see that some of you are getting a chance to go out riding, either on the track or on the trails. Let's face it, motorcycling is just good for the soul. So if you're one of the lucky ones and you actually got your motorcycle dirty, check out the line of Slick products. They have the world's best bike wash products that are made specifically for our sport, not like the off-the-shelf brands you get at the big box stores. So head over to their site for additional info and purchase options. If you're in the need of a new set of bars and grips, ODIgrips.com has you handled. Ricky and I both run the Emig Pro V2 lock-on grips, and we pair them with the RC4 handlebar bin. If it's parts and apparel you need, even accessories, you know that RockyMountainATVMC.com has everything from A to Z and the most competitive prices on the planet. And of course, Fox Racing is the world's leader in moto and mountain bike apparel. So check out foxracing.com for the complete line. Now, settle in, because this week's guest is the most promising young racer ever to come out of the Show Me State.
Said if you can't win, wreck someone who can. And
Exactly.
I knew I wasn't winning that.
Why do people not get out of the fast lane?
Every time I see that picture of you riding around with that big ass fro you're wearing, I still get pissed.
It was that night I said preparate, but I didn't say what I wasn't supposed to say, and that's A1.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Real Talk 447. I am Jeff Emig. As always, I'm joined by my partner in crime here, Ricky Carmichael. Who are you going to bring the Real Talk again today? You've been doing a good job lately with your Real Talk.
You like that? I appreciate that. I'm happy to see it. It's been a couple of days since I talked to you. I saw you sent a couple of pictures over the weekend.
Yeah, I thought I was getting sick. I had the coronavirus, but it was too many Corona lights.
There you go.
So I'm all right though. I'm good. So, dude, are you stoked? We have a special guest today for Real Talk, and it happens to be our youngest guest. So we've gone from the legend of Rick Johnson, and now we're going from California to Richards, Missouri. We're going to bring in one of Supercross and Motocross's greatest talents on the 250. Welcome to the show, Austin Forkner. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Ready to get back to racing though.
I bet. Are you in California or are you in Missouri?
I'm in Oklahoma at Raynard's.
Oklahoma.
Well,
Okay.
Just outside of there at my house. Just waiting, hurry up and wait, really.
So when this whole thing started, Ricky and I had an episode that we really just devoted to, okay, Supercross has stopped. We don't know what's going to happen with the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. And so Ricky says, like, well, what do you do right now? Do you keep training? Do you take time off? You know, there was a lot of what ifs 6 or 7 weeks ago.
They just kind of keep pushing it back. I've been hearing little like word of mouth. Oh, it's going to be the beginning of May. So and then I'm hearing now it's going to be later, and then they just keep pushing it back and back and back. And that's what Robbie doesn't really know how to design my program right now, because he doesn't know if he should be pushing me hard, but like if I'm going to race in a couple weeks, then I can handle it. But if it's going to be another month and a half, 2 months, then he doesn't want to burn me out before we even get back to racing. So it's just, and all that's just up in the air. I mean, everybody's in the same position with that right now. So that's just, I mean, you just got to do what you think is right and see what happens, really.
If you had your own choice to do your training, would you do Supercross or motocross? Would you do 50-50? Like, what would be a perfect world? I mean, no one's ever been in this position, so it's kind of hard. But if you had your choice, what would you?
Yeah. I will really like. I've been riding outdoors lately, or I was riding outdoors over the East Coast break, and then like a couple weeks before I was supposed to go back and race, I went back to riding Supercross, and Robbie said that I looked better than before I left. So like sometimes it's good to get like, and that sometimes happens. It's like you get in such a groove riding Supercross or riding outdoors that when you switch back, like you're like it just clicks and you're like excited about it and you have the intensity and have the kind of drive again. So and that's what I felt like with Supercross. So, but I only rode it for a couple more weeks and then all this happened, and then we heard the next race was going to be outdoors. So we just started riding outdoors. And so really either way we go, I feel like I'm like physically prepared for outdoors at this point. All we've been doing is long motos. So I feel like I'm good with that. And if I jump back on Supercross, I feel like I'll be just as comfortable, like just as good as whenever we were racing. So
Right.
I feel like either way, I'll be fine.
Hey, Ricky and Austin, did you guys feel that when you ride Supercross and only Supercross for so long, then you jump back and you kind of like let things loose and you go ride some motocross, and when you come back, it's almost like you're a little more aggressive. You're trying to be less perfect, but I don't know how do I put it. It's like you're a little looser.
Not as precise, almost like you just kind of blow on through.
Something about that. Yeah. Do you feel that, Austin?
Yeah. That's what I don't know exactly what it is, but it always seems to kind of happen. Like it's just like whenever you've been riding one thing for a while, you're just like, finally I get to ride outdoors. And then when you've been riding outdoors for a while, you're like, I get to go back to Supercross. So that always seems to happen. I don't like, maybe it's just that you're actually excited to go ride and not just another day riding the same outdoor track, riding the same Supercross track. When you switch it up from Supercross to outdoors or vice versa, it just kind of livens you up. You're just like you have some intensity. You're like Ricky said, you're like pushing through stuff. Maybe like just, I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's something.
Hey, one question I'm interested in to ask you: what is harder, going from Supercross to motocross, or motocross back to Supercross? Which do you find the most challenging?
If I haven't ridden Supercross in a while, well, whenever I guess I should say like a few years ago, whenever definitely my technique was way off at Supercross. It's better now, like as far as just balls of your feet, all that, like technical stuff. It's better now. So I will say that makes a huge difference transitioning from motocross to Supercross, because motocross, you don't have to have perfect technique. You can hang off the back of the bike. You can whatever, like you don't have to have that great technique. You can just kind of hang it out. Like sometimes that's how you have to ride, especially like a sand track, like technique's out the door. Like you just
like that. Hey, yeah. like that video of Darren Durham that floated around yesterday. He was hanging off. Dude. He was hanging off the back for a little bit. We're gonna have Ryan edit that in right now, dude. Have you guys ever seen anything like that?
No. Oh I'm glad the dude's okay.
They said he walked away, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard. That was yeah. I saw the video. And I was just like, dude, that's crazy.
Welcome to motocross. So. Getting back to Supercross here, so the plan as of right now is that there's an idea of racing the final 7 Monster Energy Supercross events in Glendale, Arizona in 3 weeks. So it'd basically be what, like Saturday, Wednesday, something like that? Anyone? Ricky, do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, you hear so many things that has been thrown around. They're under a time crunch from what I'm hearing. But like Austin said at the top of the show, I mean, it changes from day to day. Like what might be happening at 10 a.m. will be different at 4:30. But everything that I'm hearing, yes, somewhere, within, I'd say 2.5, 3 weeks, fitting those 7 races in, which, hey, it's not ideal for anybody, but it's better than nothing at all. And at least these guys will get to go back racing, and we'll get to watch them finish out their season. So whatever it's going to be, I hope that it is relatively soon. And I believe everyone will make the right decision. But Austin, I mean, you got to be chomping at the bit to get back. And do you even care where the hell you go racing, or do you just want to get back to it?
Yeah, I don't really care at all. Like Mitch called me and asked me like, hey, so the promoters or whatever just are trying to get some riders' opinions. And he was like, what do you think? And I was like, I mean, doesn't really matter. Like, as long as we get to race, I don't care what stadium. I don't care if you go build a track in the middle of the field and we race on. I don't really care, just so that we get to race and finish out the series. And but yeah, it doesn't really matter. I guess the only thing is that would be nice if we're doing like 2 races a week is, for me, I would prefer to do like a Saturday, Monday, just like a day in between. Cause I feel like with Supercross, like with outdoor races, that would be tough. Cause like you're cooked after an outdoor race and it takes like 3-4 days just to recover from the actual race before you feel normal. Sometimes if it's a hot one, it might take you all week to recover, like to the next weekend. But for Supercross, you're not like fully just gassed after the race. So I think a day, maybe 2 at the most, would be plenty for recovery. And then it would give us time to at least go home for a few days. Like I would prefer not to have to, because I was hearing that we would do like a Saturday, like Wednesday, like you guys were hearing, or something like that. Then in that, we wouldn't go home. We would literally stay there wherever we end up racing for 3 weeks or however long it takes to finish them out. So I'd prefer to do it with like 1 day in between, so that at least we could go home for a few days maybe. But I mean, that's it at this point. I don't really care what we have to do as long as we just get the racing in.
So I'm not super familiar with what the schedule is as far as any of the East-West races, but we would start off with round 11, which was supposed to be Indy, then Detroit. So both of those would be East Coast races. Then we get to Seattle. More than likely, that's only a West. Is Denver? Is that? Are there any more East-West races besides the final?
Yeah. There's 2, because there was 2.
One of them was Denver, wasn't it, Austin?
Yeah,
So,
one of them was the last one, but then, or what was Salt Lake City is the last one, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, Salt Lake
then
City.
it was Salt Lake and Denton. So yeah, there's 2, and I heard they're still planning on doing those.
Well, so here's my point is the East Coast guys would have 2 races, Indy and Detroit. You guys would have Seattle on the West, and then boom, then you're back together. So is that a disadvantage that they have another weekend or another sort of race under their belt after this thing gets going?
I mean, could be, I guess. At this point, I think any racing getting back to it's almost going to be, with how long it's been, it's almost going to be like A1. Like those first race nerves and jitters you kind of get at your first like race of the year, it's pretty much going to be that again, because it's already been like what, month and a half, 2 months since there's been any racing.
Yeah.
And then by the time we race, if we do at the end of next month, that's going to be like a whole new almost year, like almost season starting over. So it could be, I mean, we'll have 1 race, so I guess we'll be able to get the initial kind of race jitters out of the way, and then we'll get thrown in with the East guys. So that'll be, I guess I would prefer to have a little bit more, but at this point, there's all like the preparation, preparing how you typically would, all the typical, strategies, that's out the window. You just go race.
Yeah, and so far this season in the West Coast Championship, you had a couple of wins. You were fastest qualifier 3 times, but there was a couple of big mistakes that it's almost like, it'd be great to be able to just kind of reset on those, right? One of them cost you the win. The other one where you crashed at, was it A2 out of the whoops?
Yeah.
But has this break given you any time to kind of reflect on those? And like you said, does this feel like you're starting over? Like, okay, I analyzed that. Now we've taken this break, and now you're only 13 points down on Ferrandis. You're sitting in 3rd, but it's right there, and you guys have four rounds left to go.
Yeah, I mean, really what we've all had, all 3 of us, me, Cooper, and Ferrandis, all had like the one bad race this year. That A2 is that for me, which that's really my only regrettable race of this year. Like everything else, the first one, I mean, still got 5th, ended up getting, so that's not like a championship break, like, like a bad race by any means. I wish obviously I would have won, but really it was that like 17th or 15th or whatever I got at A2 and I crashed in the whoops. That's what hurt me. And it was Ferrandis at St. Louis when he got like 12th or whatever he got, and it was Cooper at Phoenix. So we've all had that one bad race. So yeah, I mean, I feel like my last couple races, they were pretty good. Obviously I wanted to hold off Ferrandis, but I mean, is what it is. I've been working and we're gonna go back and see what we can do. I think with my good starts, I'm hoping that that'll be my strong suit for the East-West shootout races, that I can get a good start and hopefully break away. And the thing is, if somebody else gets a bad start with more fast guys, it's harder to come through the pack. So, like if I can get a good start, hopefully I can just check out. That's what I'm thinking. And with more fast guys also to get in between Cooper, Ferrandez, me, it could, depending on the situation, if I'm up front, then it could be good for me. More guys between us, more points gained on my part. It also could be bad if I get a bad start and they are up front, more fast guys. It's both ways, but I'm hoping that I can use that to my advantage and, put some guys in between us and gain some points.
It certainly is a huge advantage you got going for you. I mean, you've always been a great starter, and like you said, for that East-West shootout, that's going to be crucial. And you have so much confidence in your starts, and I think your competition knows that. You know what I mean? So that's probably going to play games with them. But I mean, dude, last year you were so fast and just a level ahead of the guys, especially on the East Coast. And it's no slight towards them. What would you say? Has there been a surprise to you at all in this season as opposed to last season? Did you expect to be a little bit better than you are this year because you had such a big gap last year? Like, tell us where you're at as far as that and the thinking, and like, have you been caught off guard by anything? Or are you pumped with where you're at?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty pumped with where I'm at. Obviously, I'd like to be a little bit closer to the points lead. That A2 race hurt me, but other than that, I feel like it's been a pretty solid season. These guys are fast. Ferrandez is especially, he's fast, and there's been like maybe multiple races where he's ran faster practice times than the 450 guys, and we've been right up there with them in times in the races and in practice both. So like, we're going really fast, and that's, I guess, not really catching me off guard, but what I felt like maybe was a little bit easier about last year, I guess, maybe, is that I would be able to break away and then nobody would be able to catch me because I felt like I was just faster than everybody else. And this year, Cooper on good days and Ferrandez are on my level, I guess, of speed. So if they get a good start and they're right behind me or something, it's going to be a lot harder to just check out on them than I guess it was last year. But I mean, I don't know. Everybody's like been comparing, hey, like, what's different about this year, last year? I've had people be like, I don't think you're quite as fast as you were last year, but I don't really know. I don't know. I think that our pace this year is really fast, like that we're going right now. And like just the speed that us top three guys on that coast have is pretty intense. And so I don't think I'm worse. I just think, I think I kind of had to find that balance, I guess, of maybe like last year I was pretty sketchy. Like I would crash in practice and stuff almost every race. So, and then I did my ACL, but so I guess maybe you kind of have to find that balance of like, okay, back it down just a little bit and find that sweet spot. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like if I did, it's only been a good thing because I've definitely crashed a lot less this year.
So, massive improvements.
Yeah. So
I mean, of the multiple things that the three of us actually have in common, I don't share that. That's you and Ricky, because I'm not sure if you've seen Ricky's rookie year in Supercross. Dude, MX fails would have it's like a gold mine. Every day, just a Carmichael.
Another thing you don't share with us is race total wins.
Huh? Race total wins?
Yeah, that's another thing you don't share with us.
Let's see.
You opened the door, dude.
You're just being an asshole. Now you're just being an asshole.
You started throwing shade.
So
dude, that's just when you ride at our limit and our edge, things happen, brother.
I back it down to the sweet spot.
It's high price to pay, man.
Hey, so Austin, it was really cool when you were a younger kid, and I started recognizing your name, seeing you at Loretta's and some races, and seeing you come through the motocross, amateur programs. Joined up with Team Green, like Ricky and I did early in our days, decades ago, and that you're now sort of this next generation of rider from the Midwest. And I think of probably guys like Brayton and Denny Stevenson, Chad Pedersen. Who else am I leaving off? I mean, I guess Oklahoma you could throw in there. Some of the guys from Oklahoma being a group of riders from the Midwest, and I really thought that it was pretty cool once I learned your story and realized, you're really from Nowhereville, Missouri, right? Pretty damn small town, but your dad raced, your mom raced horses, barrel racing, and stuff like that. So, what was life like growing up on a farm like that, just riding dirt bikes?
We had a little track on the farm, just like now, like when I was that age, I thought it was like all the jumps were huge and everything was massive. And now looking back, I'm like, it was a ghetto little track. Like it was like right next to like pig barns and like it, yeah. But it was good. It was pretty normal up until I started being homeschooled, which was like 6th grade. I think I finished that and then was homeschooled. It was pretty normal up until then. I played basketball, went to school. We'd go race on the weekends, and then we would do the Oak Hill, Lake Whitney Spring Nationals and Loretta's and Mini-O's were usually like the 4 races we would try to get to. Just, whatever. If I was getting top 10s, that was pretty good. Top 5s were like super good. I would win every now and then, but wasn't really great until I was like probably, I think it was my 11-year-old year at Loretta's when I won the 2 85 titles, and then Team Green sponsored me. And then at that point, that was like about the time I started being homeschooled and kind of started to take things a little more seriously, started riding more during the week, not at our track. We found guys with other tracks that we would go ride at, and then it kind of became a little bit more, but still didn't even really go at it, like start living in a training facility until I got on big bikes. And then started preparing. It was pretty soon after I got on big bikes that I got Mitch signed me to a pro deal. So then it was like, all right, like let's go, like time to go for real.
Yeah, well, you were also a pretty badass scooter rider from what I remember. Do you remember seeing those videos, Ricky?
I do. I was going to ask you, like, do you ever get on the scooter anymore? Dude, you got some mad, like, talent on a scooter.
Yeah, I haven't since my ACL because I was just worried about just, like, rolling an ankle, anything like that. Like, but my ACL feels really good right now. This time off has only actually made it, like, helped it, like, just get better and better and better, just more riding, more doing other stuff, just more time on it, I guess. Obviously, it's going to get better. So me and my friend just started going to the skate park again and riding a little bit. I mean, we don't really have anything else to do, and skate parks are, other than the one they filled with sand in California, they're not doing that here. So you can just go ride on the one that we go to doesn't have a fence around it, so you can just go ride it whenever you want. And it's like pretty fun again. I haven't really done much like that since I did my ACL. Haven't really done much bicycle riding other than like mountain bike and road biking, but that's like work kind of rides. Haven't really done stuff like that for fun. So yeah, it's nice I'm not probably as crazy as I used to be. I saw some videos like that my friend had on his phone of us back when we were like 12, 13 years old. We were pretty dang good on scooters.
What you do, flips and everything?
Of course.
Yeah, we were doing some crazy stuff. So now I'm a little bit more mellow, just, hit some rails, do some little grinds and stuff here and there, just kind of flow around the park and stuff, not really doing all the crazy tail whips and bar spins and everything. But I'm a little bit more brittle now than I was back then, I feel like, too.
Oh, so, shit. Dude, I'm twice your age. Wait till you're 50 and then tell me what brittle is.
Okay. So, hey, Austin, so we both kind of went through the Kawasaki Team Green program as amateurs, and then we moved on to Mitch's program. and you've been there for a while, and we all got our stories, but we have to know, dude, like, the guy is hilarious, and he definitely has his moments. Yeah, he's hard on us at times, or hard on his riders. You know, he expects a lot out of them. I don't think he expects his riders to do something they're not capable of. However, those are the tough times and the unpleasant times with Mitch. But do you have any funny stories? Is there one story that stands out to you about Mitch Payton?
Just like, honestly, it's just like time with him outside of the races. So like when I go there for testing and I don't have a place, and I stay at their house just for like when I go out there for like a week or two, just like not talking about dirt bikes, playing ping pong at their house, like stuff like that, where you don't get like people that say they know Mitch, you know, they don't really know that side of him. They know him at the track, and I don't really have any, I guess, super bad like horror stories as far as what I've heard. Like before I signed with Mitch, everybody was like, "Oh, Mitch Payton, like he's hard, like he'll put you through the ringer." I don't really have any bad stories like that. I mean, I guess I see how he could be like that, but I mean, I feel like you would have to do something pretty not good, like, you know, pull off when there's no reason to it, and when you're in a like something bad like that, I feel like, to really make him mad. As far as that, he really doesn't have to tell me anything that I haven't told myself already like 100 times. He's like, "Hey, you know, you crashed, you gave away whatever, how many points, like that's going to hurt your championship." I've already told myself that, you know, I've already ran back through my head 10 different times of what I could have done different to prevent that. So I don't feel like anybody really has to be hard on me like that, because I'm already just mentally hard on myself like that. If I mess up, or if I'm just like, every little scenario from 3 laps before, how I could have set something up different just to change everything. But yeah, so I don't really have any bad stories. It's just, I mean, you know, it's really good when you win, obviously, with Mitch, and when you don't, I mean, he's hard on you, but it's never you did horrible, like this is a completely negative situation. It's always, all right, like let's work on what we can do to get better. So I mean, I like Mitch. He's been solid with me.
Now let's take a break from this show with Austin and Ricky so I can let you know about this week's Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com discount. It's for the Attack Graphics Factory seat cover. It comes in multiple colors and features full-length traction ribs, which is a must for today's bikes considering how much horsepower they provide. Head over to RockyMountainATVMC.com and use the offer code 447COVER. $36.99 is the normal retail price, but now it's only $29.99 when you use the offer code 447COVER. And remember, this code is good for 48 hours after the show posts. Now, back to Real Talk. Ricky?
Oh, well, we have a million stories. I mean, the first one that I always go to is the story where I went to In-N-Out, and I said, like, Pingree and I went to In-N-Out, and we got back to the shop, and I tried to say that I didn't have anything, and he's like, "Well, let me smell your fingers." And
Oh, yeah, that one.
I had been digging into a bag of fries, and he smells my fingers. He's like, "Oh, you had fries, dude. I can smell it on your finger." I'm like, "Oh, dude, you got me." So yeah, I mean, that's one of the funniest ones. But I mean,
dude, having In-N-Out right down the street from the Pro Circuit headquarters, that's just not even fair.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not fair at all. Because Mitch always tells me about, you know, the guys would get In-N-Out when they were coming back to the shop and stuff. And so he asked me like every day, "Hey, did you stop at In-N-Out? Did you stop at In-N-Out?" And I'm like, "No, not today. Maybe I'll get it on the way home, so then I don't have to ask you. I don't get asked about it." So.
Yeah, I mean, now there's some other good stories that I have, but it's too hot for TV, if you will. So it wouldn't be appropriate for this podcast. But we've had some really, really good times. Some at the Motocross of Nations. We had a really couple good stories at St. Louis, one of your home races, Austin, St. Louis Supercross. When I almost won the championship in '98, I missed it by 1 point, I should say. Ended up getting it done the next week in Pontiac. But anyhow, we had a pre-celebratory little party. That was a good time.
I always raced against Mitch. Essentially, I believe I used Pro Circuit pipes on Team Yamaha for like a year, maybe, but mine involved the night after the Bear Sea Supercross in Paris. Too many adult beverages. Is probably 5, 6 in the morning. Everybody used to gamble and play cards back then, and if I remember correctly, I kept cutting the cards against him, and once I got up to like losing 10 grand to him, I was like, okay, I'm out. And then I vaguely remember like, okay, don't pay me, just run a Pro Circuit sticker on your visor for a while or something, and then in 2001 or end of 2000, when I had my race team, we were doing a deal with him and Pro Circuit. So we sat down in the meeting, my partners and I, and the first thing he talks about, why should I sponsor you? You still owe me $10,000, which is such a Mitch thing to like set you back on your heels, So he never got his 10 grand, but I did get sponsorship, so we're all good.
That's funny.
So your first Supercross win was in 2018. And then how many do you have now? Is it probably up to about 7, I'd say?
I think it's what I won. I won 3 that year. I won 5 or 6 last year, and 2. So it's probably like 10 to 12 or 10 to 12, I would say.
Jeff can't count that high in wins, unfortunately. But
Dude.
What was that win like? Do you think that was your best win you ever had? Like
that was
as a professional.
Yeah, that was probably like one of the most memorable. Because I think it was Ferrandez that almost passed me on like I passed Osborne, I remember, because he was like the stud at that time. He was the champion the year before. He was like the bad dude, and I passed him on the first lap, and then kind of ran away for a little bit. And then Ferrandez reeled me in a little bit right at the end, and my strong suit that night was the whoops, and he tried to make something happen. There was a tunnel jump and then whoops. And he like hit me a little bit in this little S section, hit the tunnel jump, and then I blasted the whoops, and then I like knew after that I was like, okay, we're good. So that was a good night. I remember that. But then at the same time after that, I was like kind of had like a realization at one point, like later that night, that I was like, oh, like now I won. Like now people are gonna expect, like now the expectations are gonna rise a little bit, because after you get kind of won, then you're like, okay, like now. And that was only a second race, and I was only 3 points down on Osborne, or something at that time. So then it was like, okay, I have a race win. Okay, like I just beat the guy that was last year's champion. Like I'm a championship guy now. Like I went from the year before not being that, by I think it was just my rookie season the year before or whatever, just not being that. And then this year I was that guy, and I was that guy pretty much all year until I got hurt at like Minneapolis or something. But I was right there. So that was cool, and it set me up for a good year. Good races and a really good second year. I feel like getting my feet wet with those guys, and almost like being not quite there, but like right on the verge of being like, okay, like I could win this championship. And then last year I was like the number 1 guy, and I feel like I'm right there again this year. So I mean, it was that definitely set me up for a good year, and that was probably one of the best feeling races I've ever, like I was probably one of the happiest I've ever been for that race, obviously.
That's fantastic.
How do you approach Supercross differently now than, let's say, your first year?
My first year, I just you kind of almost have to, in a sense, like respect Supercross. You have to respect the track and respect it a little bit. Where you come in as a rookie, you don't. You've been riding outdoors your whole life. You've been you've been blowing berms out. You've been smashing stuff, just holding the throttle wide open, being told just faster, like, and in Supercross, you can't really just push that all the time. Like you almost have to get, like, that's where before technique wasn't really important to me. And then I got to Supercross and then it put me in my place. Like that's where you kind of have to, I guess that's what I learned, is that technique in Supercross is actually really important for not crashing and just for being, dialed and being precise and not feel like you're going a million miles an hour, but you will be going really fast. Like that's kind of sometimes the way I've had races that I've won. And I was like, I didn't feel like at St. Louis this year, I didn't feel good at all. Like in the race, I just didn't really feel that like fast, but I won. So, I mean, there's just, that's how it is sometimes when, smooth is fast. It is in Supercross and outdoors, but especially just in Supercross, the tracks are so gnarly now. We're doing such big jumps. So you got to be precise every lap, and you got to have some respect for the track,
Let me ask you this. You mentioned after your first Supercross win in Tampa in 2018, that then you felt like then there were more expectations on you. I would back that up all the way to your last year as an amateur. And, I'm interested to know if you felt the pressure to win right away, because I made the comment many times about you that I think that you, at that time, were the best amateur that was making his pro debut since Ricky or James Stewart, right? So that's a pretty big expectations.
Yeah.
And then you go from being almost unbeatable as an amateur, and then your first couple of years as a pro, especially in Supercross, were really rough. So what was that experience like? Did you have those hard days, or is that expectation that I feel like I was putting on you something that you didn't feel?
Yeah, I knew what everybody was talking about me coming into my first race. At the time, somebody coming in and winning their first year was like the last time I remember somebody doing that was, I think, Kennard in like 2008 when he won his first year. That's like the last time I remember somebody coming in winning immediately in the 250 class. So it was kind of not realistic to think, okay, I'm going to win a championship this year. So even though I know that people had expectations of that, in my head, I guess I didn't really. I thought maybe I could win some races, but I feel like I was trying too hard my first year, because I don't know, from the pressure, from the expectations of people, I was just trying super hard and ended up either crashing or going slower because I was trying so hard, when if I would have just relaxed, maybe like smoothened out, like I said, I would have been better. So I was just trying to push the envelope too hard, like I said, coming from riding outdoors and stuff, and that doesn't work in Supercross. You have to you have to back off sometimes, and you'll actually go faster. So that was my struggle, I guess, last year or my first year, and then even my second year was still a little bit of that. So I don't know.
Ricky, you had to feel the same with that, like that you had won as an amateur, the pressure to win the first year, right?
Yeah, there's so many similarities between Austin and I, and how we grew up, and what we were able to accomplish as amateurs, and then moving on to the pro ranks. Of course, there's that expectation, and you want to go out and you want to prove to everyone and yourself that you can live up to those expectations. And what I felt and was the guys that I didn't expect to be fast were fast, and it was harder than what I thought it would be. And no matter how many practice laps I did at the track, nothing was the same as when I got to the actual racetrack. And things just changed so much. And then once you have a couple bad races, you fall into this rut and it's hard to get out of it. And, you know, and I feel like Austin and I were in this, we kind of did the same thing, if you will. And it's just hard, you know. I think just with that expectation, there's so much pressure there, and then we end up, you know, trying a little bit too hard, and it bites us. But at the same time, I feel like it's a great lesson that we both learned throughout our career that only helps us later on in our career. It might not be at the current moment or when we want it, but I think it pays massive dividends, you know, especially for me. It paid massive dividends, you know, last 5-6 years of my career. So, you know, there's just that expectation. And if you don't know how to manage that, and it is really hard to manage that, it's tough. It's just hard, you know, because all we were used to was we were used to winning. And then when it's hard for us to win, and like you were talking earlier, Austin, like this year compared to last year, it's frustrating when you can't just check out when you've done that the whole season. I think, dude, I think Adam Cianciarulo was very similar in a similar way to Austin as well. You know, when you're so used to checking out and you can't do that because the other guys are really good.
Yeah.
It's like uncharted waters for us. You're like, wait a minute, how can this guy be keeping up with me? This isn't supposed to happen. So
yeah, and
it's hard.
Yeah, and that's what the experience gives you, right? It gives you, oh, okay, so you can be a little more patient. In the years leading up to when I turned pro, guys like Bradshaw, Kudrowski, Matasevich, like you know, I mean, they would win like right away, and so I felt the urgency to win right away. And then when you make those mistakes, you feel like, oh, I'm not like you. This doubt comes over you. Mm-hmm. But that's where having a team owner like Mitch Payton, he's seen you know, guys for 30 years now come through his program, and you know, like, okay, you have one bad race, it's not the end of the world. But as racers, we have a tendency to be like, oh, that's it, I'm done. Nobody's going to rehire me next year. I suck, you know. But then when you look at the big picture, you go, look, Austin Forkner has a couple of bad races. This dude's one of the best young motocross riders in the world. This isn't going to be the end of the road. You know what I mean? So, but you don't know that when you're living it, right?
Yeah. That's, and I feel like I know for me, I'm not bad, like, but just there's that, you know, if you get hurt or if you have a bad race, if your first thought is always like, oh, like, what am I going to do? Like, you know, it's just like kind of negative thoughts. And then after you calm down and mellow out, then you're like, okay, I just need to figure it out. It's not the end of the world. We're going to be okay. But your first kind of panic thought is like, am I good enough? Am I not as good as everybody thinks I am? Like, you know, so that's what's tough. And that's whenever I came in, everybody being fast, like me being usually in amateurs, there was about 3 guys, and it was the first 3 guys. And even still then I could still check out, when now it's like, if you get a mid-pack start, like 5th through 10th are hard to pass, and you don't just pass them and then leave right away. Like, especially in Supercross, like they could make something happen back on you. So it's just, that's what getting used to, not just leaving, and for guys being able to stick right on you and then sometimes pass you back, and you not just, oh no, like I've never had this happen. Like, somebody passed me back. I've never had this happen to me in amateurs, really. So that's you kind of have that freak out, I guess, until you start to just get used to it, you know?
I feel like Austin, Jeff, and Jeff, this is a question for you. Austin, you wouldn't know really, because you'd never have really ridden 2-strokes on the big bikes. But I feel like, because a lot of the 250 guys and 450 guys, for that matter, for the most part, you guys do the same stuff every weekend, right? So like you said, those 5th to 10th place guys are really hard to pass because they're doing everything. So to get by them, dude, sometimes you have to override it and press the issue, push the guy out of the way, whatever, however you're going to make a pass. You have to do that because everybody's tripling stuff. Or if you want to pass the guy, you got to quad something, whatever it might be. I feel, Jeff, do you think that if Austin was racing, say, a 125 two-stroke, that it would benefit him because he, his level of riding, he could do more things different than other guys because of his talent level?
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that the performance gap between the big bike and little bike, and then even with the 250s, I feel like that playing field is leveled a little bit, So
Yeah, like Austin, like things like out of corners,
Yeah.
just with how you ride and the talent level that you have. Not to say that the guys you're racing with doesn't have talent, but it would be easier for you to make up time because you could triple out of corners, where now you don't have to get, your guys' bikes are so powerful. You come out of the corners, you can mess the corner up a little bit, and still jump something.
Yeah.
So here's the difference. Okay, Austin, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong. I have been wrong like once ever, but so most time I'm like on point. But so when you're racing these when you're all kids and you're racing amateurs, right? So you get that bad start. You're racing the kid in 5th or 10th or whatever you're saying, right? So he's a good amateur kid, one of the top kids racing Loretta's, but maybe his plan is to go to school or just not, disappoint his parents or whatever. Now that you're riding Supercross, even though the 250 class is the entry level, there are guys that are in there that are married. Some of them have kids. They're grown men. They have to pay their mortgages. They're fighting for their, it's a difference than a kid whose dad's paying for the bikes and all this sort of stuff versus you've got, okay, this is my career and I don't give a shit if Austin Forkner is the new kid or not. I got to get the best place that I can because I got to feed my family. So it's a totally different mentality, right?
Yeah, it is. That's why I feel like in pro stuff, people, like, everybody's more aggressive, and you don't just give up a pass kind of like an amateur. It's like you get past, whatever, that's half the kids in amateurs aren't even, they haven't even invested so much into it. Pretty much everybody in the pros, they're living for racing and they're betting all that they have, everything that they have is coming from racing. They make their money depending on how they do it this weekend and next weekend. So the higher they get, that's more money they're bringing in to pay for things. That's how they're living. So yeah, it definitely, you definitely feel that, and they don't care. Nobody cares who anybody is. I don't feel like it definitely as much as whenever you're in amateurs as when you go pro.
All right, Austin. So wrapping this up, we know you're on a time crunch. Last question. Plans. You're going to continue to stay in the 250 class, try to defend if you win your championships this year, defend next year, move on to the 450 class after that. What's your career look like after 2020?
Yeah. Well, this year definitely threw a wrench in everything. What I've heard now is that some of the 250 guys we're not even going to point out. So potentially could be another, I would technically have pointed out after next year. So whether or not next year would have probably been my last year either way. Now I don't know what's going on there. So I technically probably wouldn't point out, but I think that the plan was to do this year, do next year, and then probably go to 450s. That was the plan. I'll be, I think 23 then. That seems like, pretty good age. As long as everybody, as long as Robbie and Mitch, I'll be leaving Mitch, but he knows what maturity for a 450 looks like, and Bruce and Dan, all the guys at Cowie and stuff, and everybody around me thinks that I'm prepared for a 450. Then then probably we'll go up after next year. So that's probably the plan as of right now.
Well, Ricky and I, we both have been outspoken about the fact that we wish that we had at least one more year in the 250 class to mature, to let our bodies mature, to gain more experience, more experience on the bike, more experience with what being a professional racer is about. So, my recommendation is take all the time you need, because what Chad Reed and Kevin Windham have shown us is you can ride a long time if you choose to, and if you stay healthy. So there's no rush to jump up to the big bikes. Trust me.
Yep.
No doubt. Well, we appreciate you being on, man. Look forward to hopefully seeing you at the races sometime soon, and stay healthy. Glad everyone's doing well on your end. Thank you for taking the time. We know you're busy, a lot of uncertainties, so you got trying to cram a lot of things in, dude. But thanks for Jeff and I and everybody on board on Real Talk 447. Appreciate you having come on.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good to I'm actually pretty much alone right now. Riley went to see her parents, so it's good to talk to you guys. So yeah, and just talk about the industry and everything, because feel like I've been disconnected because I haven't been going to races and stuff, So it's, good to chat.
Well, Austin, we appreciate it. I know all of our listeners around the world do as well. We have some fantastic partners on the show who help us: Rocky Mountain ATV MC, Slick Products, ODI Grips, who produce the Emig Pro grips and the RC4 handlebars, and of course Fox Racing for everything that they do for us on the production side. If you're watching this show on YouTube, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment. All of our listeners on podcasts, we appreciate it. And my buddy Andrew McKeague from the Andrew McKeague Band just got him a new Husqvarna. He's been out trail riding. But as always, his band's going to take us out with this old line. Thanks, everybody.